Hello, 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 everybody. We're going to give people just a couple seconds to hop on, and then we will get started here tonight. Hello, 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 everybody. Welcome back to Climate Voters Tonight. We're going to give folks just a couple seconds to get settled, and then we're going to get started. All right. Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to this very special episode of Climate Voters Tonight. I'm your host, Peter Schleisman, and yesterday was the 1-year anniversary of the Inflation Reduction Act. Yes, the day President Biden signed this historic piece of climate legislation into law. So where are we today? Well, 1 year after the landmark Inflation Reduction Act became law, our economy is booming, costs are coming down, and we are reducing harmful pollution. And it's all because President Biden and Democrats in Congress took on big oil and passed a real plan to ramp up production of clean energy. Companies have announced over 170,600 clean energy jobs in small towns and big cities all across the country. These are jobs building wind turbines, solar panels, and batteries, jobs that will grow our economy and strengthen our middle class. Manufacturing is back in the U.S. and it's breathing new life into local communities. The Made in America clean energy boom is happening right now, and it's just getting started. On tonight's episode, we will be bringing you different events from all across the country to celebrate this historic anniversary. But first, the headlines. Tonight, we're going to keep these headlines short. We have just one surrounding an event series we're partnering with climate change makers on. It's called the Hour of Action, and every Monday, minus Labor Day, we will be hosting hours of action that will give you the opportunity to raise your voice in support of your community getting access to more solar energy. This is through a program called Solar for All. So join us and climate change makers for our next hour of action on Monday, the 21st of August. The link is in the comments. All right, moving on to our first video clip. To commemorate the first year of transformative investments in our economy, let's hear directly from the man leading the charge, President Biden.
On the special interest and winning. This law is one of the biggest drivers of jobs and economic growth this country has ever seen. We're also boosting our nation's energy security. By 2030, electricity deployed through the U.S. power grid is expected to be powered by 81% clean energy. The law is going to help meet all of my bold climate goals by cutting carbon pollution in half by 2030. And we're re-incentivizing companies to build clean energy projects in the same communities that powered our nation with fossil fuels. It's about the future we're going to build. And I've never been more optimistic about America's future.
Moving on. President Biden was, of course, crucial to the passage of the Inflation Reduction Act, but we shouldn't forget about the work our climate champions in the House and Senate put in to get this historic legislation across the finish line. Now, let's hear directly from two of those champions, Representative Sharice Davids of Kansas and Senator and Majority Leader Chuck Schumer of New York.
I represent Kansas's 3rd congressional district, which is in the Kansas City metro area. It's one of the 5 urban areas expected to experience the greatest rise in temperatures in the coming decades. We need innovative solutions here. We need to be as innovative as possible when it comes to addressing this crisis, when it comes to growing our economy and then leaving behind a healthier world for our children and grandchildren. It's one of the biggest reasons that I was so proud to vote for the Inflation Reduction Act. Since we got this bill across the finish line about a year ago, we've seen companies reinvest in our local economies. We've seen companies reinvesting to build clean energy manufacturing facilities, including in places like DeSoto, Kansas, where Panasonic is making a $4 billion investment to build an electric vehicle battery plant. And that's going to create over 20,000 new good-paying jobs. And in total, I know that we're expecting to see over we're expecting to see over $10 billion by 2030 to boost clean energy manufacturing in Kansas, decreasing our dependence on other countries, including China, and ensuring that our local workforce and Kansas families can earn a good paycheck. And I know that as we are looking at the Inflation Reduction Act, and we're celebrating the 170,000 electrical, mechanical, and construction jobs that we've seen announced. I'm also really excited about what we have coming. You know, I'm excited about the announcements to come from all of the work that's been going on. And thank you to everybody who's here today, who has spent their time advocating for these policies, who are working throughout the country to deliver clean, secure, and healthy futures for our children and our grandchildren. Congratulations to everyone who's involved in all of these successes. I'm looking forward to continuing to work with all of you, and I will turn the microphone back over.
We all want to be here to highlight the ERA, and you are all seeing the importance of that amazing piece of legislation. It is probably the most significant action ever taken by Congress to fight the climate crisis. The most significant ever. Well, in 1 year, this legislation is paying huge dividends for the American people, for our economy, for the environment. Since we passed the IRA, costs are down to families. We're creating thousands of good-paying union jobs. And we put our country back on track to meet our goals to reduce the most harmful impacts of climate. Costs are down, jobs are up, and the amount of carbon going into the atmosphere is down. And it was a big deal last year when we announced the IRA, but it's a bigger deal now because it's actually happening. In every state we're seeing it happen. In my state, whether it's green energy, whether it's new research, whether it's becoming the largest offshore wind center in the country off Long Island. All of this is happening, and in every state this can be named over and over again. The massive investments in wind and solar and EV batteries, in storage, it's all happening. And you know, I'm so proud because we're seeing the American economy transform in a way that it hasn't transformed since the development of electricity. And it's all coming for the good of our planet, for the good of the atmosphere, for the good of climate. And when a father knows his son or daughter, a mother knows her son or daughter is getting a job in a green energy job, they know they have a future. This is not one of these dying industries. This is one of these growing industries. So, and by the way, because of the work of the people here, we are making this in America. We just had a big plant located in the Hudson Valley. They closed the plant in China. They closed the plant in Japan and opened it up in the Hudson Valley because we told them you got to make it in America. So that's another significant, important part of what we are doing. So, no question. IRA is a game changer, a turning point. It's going to, instead of a frown on America about our future, it's going to put a smile on America about our future. And we are all so proud that we were able to get this done. And let me just say, despite the fact that we have a House that doesn't seem, not these folks, but on the other side of the aisle, a House not too friendly, if we get a seat or two more in the Senate, which I think we'll get, take back the House, keep the presidency, you're going to, even though we passed the IRA, you ain't going to see nothing yet. We're going to do even bigger and better then. Thank you, everybody.
All right, let's head to the Southwest. Amid a grueling heat wave, Senator Mark Kelly joined us in Phoenix to discuss how the Inflation Reduction Act isn't just helping tackle the climate crisis, but bringing good-paying jobs back to the U.S.
We mark the 1-year anniversary of the Inflation Reduction Act. My name is Ben Bryce, and I'm the Senior Manager for State Affairs in the Southwest region for the Environmental Defense Fund. Senator Kelly, Mayor Gallego, colleagues, friends, thank you for being here today. My children, I've got 3 of them, are the 7th generation of my family to call Arizona home. And the lands and the natural resources of this state have sustained my family for over 100 years. And we can't afford to lose it. None of us can. And we need a state that cares for its air, that cares for its land, and that cares for its water. And that's why I'm so excited about the administration's clean energy plan and the success that we've been seeing here that can lead to a truly clean energy economy, to provide the tools that we need for a vital Arizona for everyone.
Folks in the national media, not you guys, but the national media, they've just discovered this, that is actually hot in the desert in Arizona. It's always hot. And folks, you know, we're used to that here. At the same time, though, this heat wave has been brutal. It's especially tough on workers, and it's really tough on seniors. And we know that the climate is changing. And it doesn't just make things warmer, it also creates conditions where extreme weather events like heat waves and damaging wildfires and flooding are a lot more common. But here's the thing, Arizona is not only on the front lines of the challenges of climate change, but also a lot of the solutions. Our state has been a leader in clean energy. And now, thanks to the Inflation Reduction Act, that is being boosted with investments in the development, the manufacturing, and the deployment of renewable energy. We're building things like solar panels and electric vehicles and renewable technologies that will reduce emissions and slow climate change. And Arizona is also emerging as a hub for battery manufacturing, thanks to the investment we made from the Inflation Reduction Act. So one thing is clear, it's clear to me, I think it's clear to many of you in this room, and that is that the Inflation Reduction Act is working. And these investments are not just helping us fight climate change, they have created more than 11,000 good-paying jobs here in Arizona, not somewhere overseas. Now, everybody likes to talk about bringing jobs back to America, but we are actually getting this done.
And now to the Midwest, where state officials are showing the nation how state and local governments can take advantage of federal dollars unleashed by the IRA to tackle environmental injustices and supercharge regional economies. Let's have a look.
Big and transformative, and the largest climate bill in history, and it was a once in a lifetime thing to watch this IRA get passed. This idea was shared with me on Zoom about bringing together a cross-functional group from our district, Michigan's 11th district, and with our trades to talk about our bill, our Inflation Reduction Act. And like all good bills that are really big and transformative, and the largest climate bill in history, and it's hundreds of billions of dollars, and then we go into implementation mode. And what you're seeing here today is the best of government. We've got local leaders, we've got state leaders, we've got nonprofit leaders, we've got union leaders that are gathered here to exchange information and share and learn from one another. And my friend with Elizabeth with the Moms Clean Air here is they're focused on the dollar so our kids can breathe fresh air, and that nothing is more palpable than what we just lived through with the wildfires, and obviously this recognition that the hottest days ever recorded on planet Earth are upon us. Now, are we going to run around afraid? Well, certainly it's a wake-up call, but part of the wake-up call is the willingness to lead. And I'll just conclude with this, because we're in a really special place at a special time. When the Inflation Reduction Act passed, it was August. We're usually not lawmaking in August. We came back in, we were going to pass this bill. And we, at the time, because we were still coming out of COVID, we still had proxy votes. So some people weren't there voting. I was there voting. I was privileged to be able to be there. And the privilege is that Nancy Pelosi, who was Speaker of the House, in her great career, was chairing the gavel, holding the gavel, chairing the gavel, tears in her eyes as this bill was being passed for the climate, the whole prescription drug component as well, doing real things for real people.
Good afternoon, everybody. Donovan McKinney here, state rep out of the 14th district. I'm an appropriations guy. So I sit on appropriations committee, that is your money committee. I'm on 6 subcommittees. All I do is approach. So we passed the historic amount in this budget, $81 billion. And it's a lot of it is due, and I got to give graces and big ups and thanks to Congresswoman Haley Stevens, our partners on the federal level, because we're using those dollars efficient. One of the things we are doing is something, so we're not only doing lead service line replacements, we're using that money to really fix the grid and a lot of the old infrastructure. But one of the things that I've been a part of in terms of a legislative package, dealing with energy and reliability. We all know the issues in our region very well. One being the climate incident that happened in late February with the ice storms, right? I had people in my own district who were out for 45 consecutive days. Just think about it, 45 consecutive days. I've had reports to me. Now, these are reported. Now, it could be a lot more unreported, but 7 deaths in my own district alone. 7 deaths because of that ice storm. And so this is absurd to live in America, right? Where it's the wealthiest country in the world, and we're still going through reliability energy issues.
How do you ensure that the people who truly have justice issues are the ones who are getting the benefit? There are some people who are starting at a disadvantage. They're already having disparate impact from things like everything from, coal plants, poor air quality from manufacturing, a lot of things. And so I think the challenge and the opportunity is with Justice 40, it mandates that 40% of the benefit of all of this funding goes to underserved communities, overburdened communities. One of the things from a just transition standpoint that I think is really important is that there is a strong historical link to those communities and those people who have right now disparate impact and the lack of economic opportunity. There's a lot of money, we've heard, coming through the pipe. How do we ensure that the people who get to do the work are incorporating people from communities that have had the most impact? Because it's not just enough to say it's going to benefit the community overall. Personal economics need to benefit too in communities that have had disparate impacts. So I would just say, as we talk more about how this funding can be used, it's not just the how, it's the who. Who's involved in the decisions, who's involved in the conversations, and who gets the work. I think that's a critical piece.
All right. Well, before we conclude, I just want to quickly say thank you so much to all of you. Without climate advocates like you, we wouldn't have been able to pass the Inflation Reduction Act, the most historic climate and clean energy legislation ever passed in our country. It shows the world that our leadership in tackling the climate crisis is profound, and we can transform our economy. So thank you again for your dedication to climate progress, and please enjoy the rest of your summer. We're going to be off the week after next, but we will be back in September with another episode of Climate Voters Tonight. Thanks so much for joining us.